All right, everyone. Thank you for joining GKhan 360 today for the very first session of the week. We're really excited to have you guys here. First off, I want to introduce myself. My name's Andrew McGonigal. A lot of you guys may know me from the past GKhan and Admin Training League events. This is the next chapter in GKhan, and we're so excited to have the hundreds and even thousands of you signed up this week for all of the exciting events that we have for GKhan 360. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our presenters in a few minutes. Before that, we're going to get into a couple of slides and just some housekeeping notes for the week so everybody's on the same page. But before we do that, I did want to mention the guys from Google wanted to make this a very immersive experience for you guys. So they have a form that is in the Showcase app, which should be on the right-hand side of your screen. So if you're having trouble finding that, there should be a little menu button at the top right corner of your screen that you can click on to locate the Showcase app, and you'll also be able to locate the Q&A app there. So please take a moment to go in there and fill out the short form. Like I said, this will help make the experience much more immersive and hopefully exciting for you guys. And if you do have questions for them, we're going to dedicate some time at the end to ask questions. So you can use the Q&A app for that. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and just run through a couple of slides to talk a little bit about GKhan and the Guru. So you guys should be able to see my screen now. So like I said, welcome to GKhan 360. My name is Andrew McGonigal. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Guru is the #1 resource for Google Apps tips, tricks, training, and updates. It's the leading how-to site for Google Apps, and we've published over 500 videos and articles about Google Apps. We have a newsletter of over 50,000 gurus who get our newsletter in their inbox every day. And if you're interested in joining that newsletter, you can go to theguru.com/register. Now, what is GKhan 360 exactly? So if you are not familiar with GKhan, this is the next chapter of our GKhan series. It's an online event series that we put on a couple times a year, strictly for Google Apps training. So we've had over 10,000 Google Apps customers attend past events. We've had dozens of excellent Hangouts on air from people across the Google Apps ecosystem. So we've had Googlers on in the past, some experienced IT administrators, and then just regular users, just like some of you out there. And one of the staples of our GKhan events is giving away tons of free stuff. We've given away thousands of shirts and some Chromebooks and tablets and other fun devices as well. So a lot of you are interested in exactly what you can win at GKhan. So throughout the week, we're going to be giving away some amazing prizes for you guys. I know a lot of you are excited about the Chromebook Pixels that we're doing, so you'll need to stay tuned to our featured sessions to win one of those. And we're also giving away over 100 GKhan swag boxes that I'll show you guys in just a second. And then there's also some bonus items for sponsors in our virtual event bag, which I'll also show in the Showcase app. So how can you win? Well, first of all, you'll need to stay tuned to the end of the presentation to fill out a short form to make yourself eligible for some of our GKhan swag boxes. And then the same thing will apply for the rest of our sessions throughout the week. And then before we go ahead and get started, I wanted to say a special thank you to some of our sponsors that have helped make this week possible. Our featured sponsors are AODocs, Smartsheet, Spanning by EMC, Switch.co, and Virtru. And we also want to thank our other sponsors as well who have helped make this week possible. So a big shout out to all the sponsors throughout the week for helping us out. And then I want to go ahead and introduce our presenters for this session. The session is Securing Your Data with Google Drive for Work, and we're joined by AJ and Nara from the Google Apps for Work team. So I'm going to hop out of these slides and go ahead and introduce AJ and Nara. But before I do, I wanted to just kind of show off the things you guys can win. So this is one of our GKhan swag boxes that you guys can win, and this is also one of the T-shirts that I'm actually wearing right now that you guys can win. So, so with that, after I plug our free giveaways, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Nara, who's going to do a couple of slides, and then they'll go ahead with the demo. So, Nara, if you want to go ahead and take it away, you've got the screen. And I think you guys are still on mute, so if you want to unmute one of your mics, we can go ahead and get started.
Okay, thanks a lot, Andrew. So I don't see my slide up yet.
No, you're up. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Andrew. So as you said, we're going to go through quickly and give you a little bit of information about Drive for Work, and then AJ is actually going to do a pretty exciting immersive experience. So just to tell you a little bit about Drive for Work and the problem that it solves. You know, the key thing that we're trying to solve with Drive for Work is this issue of giving people access to all their work, and giving them not just access to it, but giving them their ability to work with those files from any device. And that's the core problem that we're trying to solve, right? And so this is a problem that's really multiplied over the past few years, where the number of places where our files live or where our work lives has multiplied. So we have stuff in the cloud, stuff on USB, stuff in email. We have multiple devices. We have more and more people that we're working with. And right now, it's pretty difficult to access your work and share it. And so the challenge for a lot of companies is that there are all these multiple sources of data, there are multiple devices, and so for a user, it's quite hard to find or access the right piece of information. Oftentimes, you're like sorting through emails, trying to find what you need. Sometimes versioning is an issue as well, especially if you're using kind of non-Google formats. And it's pretty hard to share files, especially if you're working with big files. It's kind of hard to share those. And from an IT perspective, it's hard to ensure security, compliance, and then manage the performance of all the infrastructure. So, and if the challenge is, this is something that users are facing every day, and unless, we provide, unless IT leaders or unless, people are provided with safe tools from the business to solve this problem, people are going to go out and get their own tools. And this is actually a little bit of data from SkyHigh. SkyHigh is a company that, is in the cloud security space. They've looked across their customer base, and what they've found is that the average company has 37 different file sharing applications and 125 different collaboration applications, right? So this means that unless people have tools that make it easy for them to find their work and share it and work with it, they're going to go out and get their own tools. They're going to be using stuff like, all the tools that you see on this page. So they're going to be using stuff like Evernote and Google Drive and Prezi and all these other tools, and they'll be using consumer versions of those unless the IT department of the company gives people the business versions of those tools, because these are immediate problems and people are just trying to be productive. And the problem with this is that when people use these consumer tools in the workplace, the challenge is that it's hard to manage access to data. It's also hard to kind of keep control of the data because it's in accounts that are invisible to the company. And of course, it's hard to scan that information and make sure that compliance requirements are being met, right? So it's hard to make sure that stuff like the wrong type of information isn't being shared using these insecure channels. And so this is the core problem that we're solving with Drive for Work, and this is what we're going to spend a little bit of time kind of showing you some of the features and showing you how we're trying to solve this problem with Drive for Work. So what Drive for Work is designed to do is, to help every employee store all their work, access it from anywhere, share easily with whomever you're working with, and work with apps that you already use. So if you're using Office or some sort of Adobe tool to work with media files, it's designed to work with all those files in a seamless way. And from an IT perspective, it's designed to be so that you don't really have to worry about capacity, performance, or safety, which will really be the focus of what we're going to be talking about today. So a few things that we want to talk about in terms of new features that have launched over the past 6+ months since Drive for Work was launched. So actually it'll be close to a year soon. And the main things that have come in with apps for work are the things that launched were encryption at rest and in transit for all Drive data, a new Drive interface, enhanced Office interoperability, including being able to edit Office files from any device, and then improved sharing and security controls. And then with Drive for Work, there is enhancements to primarily the security, capacity, and control side of things. And we'll go into each of those in a little bit more detail now. So with Drive for Work, the main things that we're focused on are giving you much better visibility over how data is being created, shared, and used within the organization. Along with that, more controls, and then tools to kind of give you to be able to do forensics on how information is being shared. And again, we'll illustrate this. And then, of course, there's the capacity aspect, right? With Drive for Work, there's unlimited storage, and it's truly unlimited. So you can store as much data as you want, and you can store and share really huge files as well, 5 terabytes. So capacity is really not going to be an issue for most companies. So let's talk about each of these features in a little bit more detail before we show it to you. So in terms of visibility, what Drive for Work gives you is really good reporting capabilities, so that you're able to audit all file-related activities. So file creation, editing, viewing, sharing, and then coming soon also downloading and printing. And then the ability to set alerts. So you'd be able to set alerts saying, anytime a file is shared outside my domain, for instance, send me an alert. Or anytime a file that has this keyword in the title is shared, send me an alert. And of course, it's all configurable through APIs. The next thing is, along with visibility, you also want to be able to control things, right? So I think one of the things that Drive for Work gives you is finer-grained controls. So being able to control information access, so things like sync and sharing by department or role. So you could say, for example, that if you could create a group of, let's say, contractors, and you could say contractors cannot sync or offline their files, whereas other people in the company can. Or you could set a rule saying marketing is able to share outside the domain, but the rest of the company is not. And then finally, we're also going to be introducing the ability to restrict sharing to trusted partners. So trusted other domains where you can share, but you're not able to share in general. So that's the control piece. The next piece is now you have visibility and control. What can you do in case something happens, right? The ability to do EDiscovery and to be able to do legal discovery. That's something that comes with Drive for Work. So Drive for Work comes with Google Vault for Drive data, so you're able to do quick and easy legal discovery. Also able to keep company data. So we'll be introducing retention for Drive. So you'll be able to retain Drive data just like you do with email data with Vault in the coming months. And obviously, like this lets the IT team really get out of the discovery business with self-service tools for legal. And final piece, and AJ will start with an illustration of this, is unlimited storage, right? So really being able to stop worrying about storage and being able to work with huge files, being able to share those, and being able to store as much as you want. So no more quota management, no more worrying about kind of performance planning and backup, and really being able to keep all your data in one place at one price. With that, I'm going to turn it over to AJ to take us through the immersive.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much for that, Nara. And hey, everyone, my name is AJ Mirwani. And like you may have noticed on the G+ stream, we're going to do things a little bit different. And we're going to involve you all that are listening right now, as many as we can, in the immersive experience. So thank you to all of those who filled out the form and gave us your email address. I noticed as Nara was talking, there was a whole flood of additional emails that came in last minute. I did my best to add you guys to the groups as well so that you can participate, but I may not have gotten everyone. So you can still participate simply by watching along and joining in. Let me just switch screens here for a moment so that you can see what I'm up to. And Andrew, I think you'll be switching us over. Let me know if that's the case or not.
Yep, your screen is showing to everybody. You're good to go.
Okay. So as Nara mentioned, we're going to focus on 4 main areas, right? We're going to focus on what we're doing around advanced security, very fine-grained, granular control, We're going to show the audit, and we're going to also show really how this enables both the amazing capabilities for your end users, but enables you as an administrator to control and securely control the data in the environment, and really enable you to gain full visibility into exactly what's happening so you can take action when needed. So as you see here, I'm in my Drive folder, and you're probably very familiar with that. But you might notice a few interesting things. In my folder, I've got two particularly notable files. The first one is this very big file. In fact, if you look on the right, it's very big indeed. It is 5 terabytes big. And this is how big a file, this is the maximum file size that we can store inside of Google Drive. Now, this file itself doesn't actually do anything. I actually rendered this in Cloud Platform and uploaded it just to show people. So people don't even know what to do with a file this big. But there's something more practical that we can play with. Now, there's this Project Bluebird file. This is a top secret project, you can imagine, in our company. And this is a full-length 4K movie that we need to share with people. And you can see it's quite big as well, 260 gig video sitting right there in my Drive folder. Now, I need to get this out to all of you because you all are a part of my team. You all are my external parties that need to help review this video with me to make sure that we're on the right track. So imagine how hard this would be to do without Google Drive. I mean, this thing is 260 gigs. To get this video to you before, I would literally have to store this on a hard drive, download it to a hard drive, and ship it to you via mail, right? That's actually how I got this video initially for this demo, and I uploaded it to Drive. And now, to get it to you, all I've got to do is hit the share button, and I'm hitting the share dialog now. And what I've done is I've added all of you to a particular group that I created here, the GKhan 1 group, and I'll give you the rights to view. And I'll spare you the email because you'll all be in Drive, okay? So that's all I've got to do. Now, I'm going to skip sending the invitation. That's fine. And off that goes. I think there were several hundred of you that actually submitted your info, so thank you for that. And we're propagating those ACLs, and that's getting out to you now. So I'm switching to my mobile device, and I invite you all to do the same. On your mobile device, open up Drive and make sure you're signed in with the account that you registered to us with on the form. And simply, and I'm here on my Nexus 7 tablet here, just go to the Shared With Me folder on Drive. Right? When you go to the Shared With Me folder, swipe down and refresh that. And just like that, you'll see the Project Bluebird file that was sitting there available to you. And you can stream that right from Drive. So I'm going to do that on my tablet. Forgive the graininess. I know it's a little grainy. So there it is, playing a 4K 260 gig video, playing it, in seconds on our devices, right? So that's the power of Drive for your end users, right? And that can keep playing. If you see, there's nothing really top secret here. It's a nature video that we found. So that's really great, and that's playing. Now, enjoy that while you can. I'm just going to pause that here because I'm going back to my Drive folder, and although I've given you access to that, I always have control. So I'm just going to go ahead and take sharing away now. So I'll simply go back to the sharing dialog, and I'll go find that group I added, which is right there, and I'll just pull you all off. So you might be watching the video now. Enjoy it while you can. When you go back to your Shared With Me folder, the video will not be there. So I think that went through. Let's just make sure that went through. Yeah, sometimes that happens, but it'll get there. Okay. Yeah, the simple refresh would address that, and I'm just probably going to error out one more time on me. So enjoy that while you can, and that'll be there. Now, very powerful for your administrators, for your users. What about your administrators? And what about you as an administrator? So with Drive for Work, we provide very deep, very granular audit capability in Google Drive. Take a look at the reports here. Now, when I click on the reports in my admin console, one of the things we've added, in addition, you may already take advantage of the very granular usage activity we provide in Drive. If you look on the left, you'll notice with Drive for Work, we add a whole series of new audit reports. So when I click on the Drive audit report, I can see in real time exactly what's happening. Look at all the views that I'm seeing with this project Bluebird. All of these anonymous users are looking at it and viewing it, and that's great. And I'm wondering, okay, what is going on? As an administrator, who is sending this project Bluebird file out to all of these anonymous people? Well, fortunately, I have this real-time audit report, and I can find out specifically. Maybe I filter down into, okay, who actually shared this out. So I'll select the user sharing permissions change, and I'll set that to, okay, the view mode. I want to see who's setting things to view externally. And I can begin to filter down quickly, and I see here that looks like Matt Hawk changed these permissions for Project Bluebird here, for GKhan to this private group. Well, that's strange. Perhaps I want to know more about what this Project Bluebird is, and I want to monitor this. I know this is a sensitive project in my company, and I want to ensure that I want to enable some DLP or data loss prevention settings. I can do that now with Drive. So I'll simply put in Project Bluebird as a keyword, right? And I'll set that as an alert. So you see on the bottom left of the screen, I'll set this as an alert. And so now whenever something happens around Project Bluebird, I will automatically get notified in real time. So here it is. I can say external sharing change for Project Bluebird. And now this becomes a DLP policy that I can define here. So that in this case, if anything gets shared externally about Project Bluebird, I can the super administrators or anyone else I'd like can get notified. So that's really amazing what we do there. Now maybe we wanted to do some additional forensics. I'm very curious about this Matt Hawk individual, and I want to make sure that he's not violating any corporate policy. Well, Google makes that very easy for us to do as well. Notice here, I'm shifting over to Google Vault. Now, Google Vault is built-in, and Nara mentioned this, built-in online e-discovery archiving capability that's seamlessly tied right into Drive and Gmail. So what I can do now is if I wanted to run additional forensics, maybe I'm very curious about this, maybe there's a litigation on this, God forbid, all right? But I can now say, well, this Matt Hawk person, I want to drill in on him a little bit. So let's look at what he's up to. And I'm going to specify a very specific search across all of the content in Drive related to Matt and related to this particular project. So maybe I look at my accounts, and I want everything related to Matt and everything related to this project Bluebird, right? There we go. And now what we're doing is we're doing an entire, we got a few results, but what we just did is in like a millisecond, we searched the entire corpus of data in our organization that's stored in Drive and in Gmail, and we're able to get specific things back. So I'm seeing this here. Looks like he's been corroborating with someone, and I can open this mail and literally can see his exact email messages and the content in those messages because it's all integrated. Looks like he's wondering if it's okay if he shared this huge Project Bluebird to a bunch of external folks, and he's got a link to the actual movie right there. So we have full context into what's happening in this particular case. Very powerful capability for you as an administrator to have this visibility and enable perhaps legal administrators to do the same. Now, I can even look at this movie here, click on it, and it plays in real time, right, because it's all plugged into Drive. And I can see, well, this wasn't particularly sensitive data, so he didn't violate any policy here, so he's actually okay. And we've enabled him to do that and share freely. So that's quite powerful. Now, I want to point out some additional controls that we're putting in. You may have noticed in the sharing dialog that I was able to enable all of you to share easily and share freely. Now, very soon in this sharing dialog, we're going to enable identity rights management right inside of Google Drive. You will be able to do things like prevent, as a user, prevent the forward, prevent the copy, prevent the download of particular files that you select inside of Drive. And that's coming out this quarter. So we haven't turned the UI yet for that, but that'll be coming in very soon. I also wanted to point out one additional feature that's coming, or a couple of really exciting ones that are here that you may not know about. If I go to the Google Drive settings, so I'm just drilling into that here. Now, for Google Drive, we've enabled some exciting features around security. The first one is OU level sharing controls and permissions controls. So here what I'm looking at is I'm looking at Google Drive sharing settings. And for each of these sharing settings, I can define where they're applied in my organizational unit. So perhaps I want administrators to have a certain level of Drive settings. I can have or you can have your other groups, in this case my contractors, have a different set of sharing settings in Google Drive. Right? So that can all be defined based on your OUs and the way you've defined your structures inside of Drive. That's very powerful. I also want to point out another new feature that we've added. If you look in the center of the screen, you'll notice that we now have an option to allow external users to preview files without a Google sign-in. What this means is your users can share freely with people outside of the company in a preview mode without them having to have a Google account and sign in for that. And so that can be enabled in your organization today if you choose that, and you can set that to particular OU level controls. There's one thing that's not quite out yet that's going to come out this quarter, which is also trusted domain sharing. So you will be able to share, and let's say you have a subsidiary or you have an acquisition in your company, you'll be able to define those trusted domains so that you can share freely and set the granular permissions against the sharing for those domains by default in the organization. So those are all very exciting. Let me come back and recap what we just shared. I know we shared a lot. So I'll just come here. Actually, I should probably jump down a bit. There we go. So there's 4 key areas that we covered in experience, and then we'll wrap up and go to Q&A. The first one is visibility. Right? Really making it very easy for an administrator to see in real time what is happening in Drive, who is sharing what, where, and the ability to take control on that. Be able to set alerts, define policies, and get notified so that you can enforce the policies in your organization. We also shared with you the very powerful capability you get with EDiscovery involved and how you can do very detailed forensics across the entire corpus of data in your organization that's stored in Drive and that's stored in Gmail. And we're continuing to enhance those capabilities. And last but not least, your users love the capacity, right? We just shared and streamed a full 4K movie to you in seconds in Drive. And your users have unlimited storage with files as big as 5 terabytes big. So we're really future-proofing your organization as the workloads increase in your company. So thank you for participating in that. That was a lot of fun. With that, we'll open up for some Q&A. And also, one last thing I want to point you out to is definitely check out Drive for Work if you haven't yet, or if you're still evaluating it. Go to the link here, the Drive for Work URL, and you can sign up for a trial there, or you can work with our partners to really enhance the adoption of this in your organization. So with that, we'll open up for Q&A, and I'll turn back over to Andrew to manage the Q&A manager.
All right, thanks a lot, AJ. Before we jump into the Q&A, I just wanted to touch on a couple of things real quick. First of all, the form that you guys need to fill out to enter to win our free giveaways is now up in the Showcase app, so if you want to go ahead and fill that out, you can be eligible for some of the cool free giveaways like the t-shirt and the GKhan swag box. And it seems like one of the main questions that we had inside the Q&A app was about downloading the slides. So if you fill out the form that I just provided in the Showcase app, we'll make sure to send over a copy of those slides over to you guys after GKhan is over. And other than that, unfortunately, it seems like we haven't gotten a ton of questions right now, guys. So if anyone still has questions that they want to get answered, now is definitely the time. we definitely have some time still available. But a good question that I think might just be a general knowledge thing for everyone is from Joe Green, who wants to know what's the difference between Drive for Work and Google Apps Unlimited. So maybe AJ, if you could give maybe just like a high level high-level points on the difference between those two?
Sure, absolutely. I think that's a great question. And so what's the difference between Google Apps Unlimited and Drive for Work? Great question. And I think the the key differences are what we are enabling around the security and control and capability there. So like one of the things you notice is that the audit reports that we were able to go into and provide real-time capability into exactly what's happening, that's a drive for work capability. That's a key one, right? And Google Apps Unlimited and Drive for Work are not the same thing, or are the same thing, right? So we forgive sometimes the naming gets a little bit confusing, right? But if we're talking about Google Apps Unlimited and we're talking about Drive for Work, those are essentially the same. And so all of the capability you saw today was built into the Drive for Work SKU. And maybe Nara, you might want to add some additional capability there.
I mean, basically, Apps Unlimited and Drive for Work are the same, have the same capabilities. The difference between apps, Google Apps for Business, and Drive for Work or Apps Unlimited are some of the things that you saw today, right? Like the fine-grained controls, unlimited storage, and EDiscovery and reporting. But Apps Unlimited and Drive for Work have the same capabilities in terms of what you saw today.
Okay, great. I think that was helpful. I think sometimes it can get a little bit confusing, the difference between the two, so thanks for clearing that up, guys. Let's see, we have another question here. Brian wants to know what's the what type of availability do you guys have in the features that you covered today for Google Apps for Education? What did you cover today that's available for EDUs?
So Nara and I, EDU's a bit out of our wheelhouse, but I can tell you that most of the features we enable are available for the EDU SKU. You can definitely take a look on our site. If you go to that URL, it'll point you to the EDU site, and you can see the SKU differences there. There really aren't that many. So a lot of what you saw today will be available in the EDU SKU. Although I'm not the final word on that. But I know we work very hard as a team to make sure that EDUs are fully enabled with all of the capabilities that are coming out of work. So definitely check that out.
And on that note, let's see, I just lost the question there for a second. Dina was asking that she can't see Drive under Audit in her admin console. Is that because she may be in an EDU? I'm not sure if that's the case.
She could either be EDU or she might be on App Standard.
Yeah.
Which is probably why. If she upgrades to Drive for Work, the name of the SKU for Drive for Work is it's still called Apps Unlimited, so that's what she'll have to upgrade to. And if she does that, then she will see the audit reports.
Great. Let's see what else we have here. Another question about the audits for EDUs. These questions are bouncing all over the place. So when will the audit feature be available for EDUs? You may have just covered that. AJ.
Yeah, I mean, it's all in the same infrastructure. So I would look at the EDU team. Unfortunately, Nara and I aren't on the EDU team. We can't speak specifically to that. Although I see Nara feverishly looking at some information here to see if he can find something. But yeah, that should be up on the site.
Okay, great. Let's see what else we have here. Then we have another question about not necessarily Drive for Work, but Allison wants to know if there's a way to allow users. The question is, when is Google going to allow users to remove items that have been shared with them from their My Drive once they're no longer needing access to the data? So I think the important thing to note there is that if something's shared with you, it shouldn't be in your My Drive unless you voluntarily add it there. It should only be in the Shared with Me folder.
That's correct.
Yep.
So I'm not sure if as a user, if you're the recipient of a file, I'm not sure if there's a way to remove that from your Shared with Me, or if there will be. I don't know if you guys can comment on that.
Yeah, I don't have a particular visibility into that one. I mean, we could take that as a follow-up. I can go back to the product team and see what they say, but you're generally speaking, well, you were spot on there, Andrew.
Okay. Let's see. I think. Let's see. I think there's a couple of other smaller questions here. I think we're going to try and stick to just Drive questions, guys, in the Q&A app. So then there's a question about the cost for Drive for Work. If you guys want to comment on that.
Yeah, sure. Drive for Work is $10 per user per month. So that's the pricing on it.
Okay.
Nice and simple.
Let's see what else we have here. Is there a way to notify users of a list of files that they've shared externally or to an entire domain? So as an admin, a way to notify a user of everything they've shared outside a domain or publicly or something like that.
And so there is a way to do that, actually. With the audit report, there is a specific report that shows you files that have been set to be externally visible. There's a specific report just for that in the audit report. You can also see any user setting permission changes that have been set to view and set to be external. So the audit report enables that. And there's also an API available with the audit report, so that you can write scripts to pull that data and pull it into other repositories or other sheets if you need to. So that is built into the audit report.
All right. Let me see here. We'll try and get to a couple more questions here. I'll touch on the slides thing again. We'll make the slides available after the presentation, just as a heads up for anybody that might have missed that from earlier. Here's a good question. What happens if you have a rogue employee that starts deleting files?
So that's the good news, right? A rogue employee can go. Hopefully they don't do this, right? And but if they start deleting files, so there's a few levels to that. Number one, are they deleting files in their own drive? If so, well, okay, they can do that. If they start, if they start deleting shared files, because we have Vault automatically built in with Drive for Work, all of those files are actually automatically archived. So the files are not truly deleted. They are deleted from that user's drive, but they are still accessible in the archive in Vault by administrators that have access to Vault. So that those administrators can go into Vault and essentially restore those pieces of content that were deleted by that rogue administrator. So that's one of the advantages of Drive for Google Vault, rather, is that it really provides not only the EDiscovery, but also archival and retention policies, so that in your entire organization, you can set retention policies to keep data for longer periods of time. People could leave the company altogether, let alone a rogue administrator or rogue user. They can leave the company altogether, and you can still archive and store their data even after they've left. So that's a really big advantage to Google Vault and with Drive for Work.
And the other thing is, whether you have apps or Drive, there's also the ability for the admin to undelete information. If it's within 25 days or so, they can undelete email information or Drive information.
That's correct. Yeah, thanks for reminding me about that. Right, there's been an undelete capability in the admin console for a long period of time as well.
But we have that for Drive as well.
And that's now available for Drive.
Okay, we're getting some other great questions in here, guys. So thanks for helping us out in the Q&A app. Is there a way to notify users when a change happened in a shared document? Can you guys? I know there's the activity views, but I don't know of a way where just a simple edit or change can be notified.
Yeah. So the question, if I understand it, is can someone or a group be notified when there is a change? So that exists in Google Sheets, right, where you can set notification rules and settings in Sheets. It does not exist in docs or slides. So in docs or slides, that's the functionality is not there. But what happens is when an item in Google Docs gets changed, it moves to the top of the list in your recent items, right? So if you're looking at your recent items, you'll notice that okay, this has changed and it's also bolded, which means there's been a change to that document, right? And then you can look and see exactly what happened.
And then, like you mentioned, Andrew, the activity feed is the other place to look for that. So looking at the activity pane will show you what's changed, and then obviously the other way to get around that is commenting.
Right. So yeah, the activity view that we were referencing there is actually you can see that inside of Drive. So you don't actually even have to click inside of the file to see the recent changes. You can just see the notes there inside of Google Drive.
Yeah.
Let's see, a general GKhan question about the virtual event bag. I just took a look at that and I noticed that there is some, we're having some problems with that. So I'm gonna check on that before our next session and see what we can do to fix that. So I apologize for the event bag not working, but it does seem like the form that I have provided in the Showcase app is working. So there's plenty of opportunities there to win some really cool free stuff. We're going to do a couple more questions and then we're going to have to wrap up because we do have another session starting in about 15 minutes. So let's see here. Let's see. Is there an administrative view that allows me to see a complete folder and ownership structure inside of Google Drive?
Yeah, so is there a way to see the entire folder and structure inside of Google Drive? Today there isn't exactly that view, right? I mean, you can collect that data from different areas using the real-time audit report and other places, but we don't have a dedicated view just for that at this time, although I think that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. And I would say that a good option for something like that, for kind of a centralized ownership structure for Google Drive, if you want to check out one of our sessions tomorrow called Centralized File Ownership and Management in Google Drive, AO Docs actually has a really good solution for that type of need inside of Google Drive. So if you want to check that out, it's a good option, and that'll be tomorrow.
That's great.
Let's see. Okay, here's a good question about the new trusted domains functionality. Will it be possible to switch the owner of files between different domains with the trusted domains?
Oh, I see. So can you take one file and then not only transfer ownership, but transfer ownership to someone else in a different domain? That's a good question. I actually don't know the answer to that one. Trusted domain is relaunching soon. I can ping the product strategist on that one and get back to you on that one.
Yeah, I mean, what it's designed for right now is sharing. So sharing to other Google Apps domains is kind of what it's designed for.
That's right.
Okay, thanks, guys. Let's see. I think we'll touch on one last question, just about a general. This is just a general Drive security-related question. So, for sharing with external users without Google accounts, is there any way to ensure the file security? So, does that external user simply get a link, and would anybody who had that link get access to the file? I think that's one of the questions that comes up a lot with Google Drive is, people could just share this link and then the file is available to everyone. The thing that I always come back to is that it's really no different than sharing an attachment with someone. So if you send an attachment via email, there's nothing stopping that person outside of some other sort of encryption software or applications. There's nothing stopping that person from just sharing that attachment with anyone. So the Drive link functionality is really essentially the same thing. I don't know if you, AJ or Nara, if you guys want to comment on
that. I think the link share is like, I think there are two ways to share with the link. I mean, one is publish to web, where you clearly are making it public. The second one is like the invite preview that we showed you. in both cases, yeah, you're right, but you have a choice to not share it that way, right? You have a choice to share it to require a sign-in and to share it with a specific person if you want it to be more secure. Once you do the invite preview, that's correct.
Yeah, that's
it's just
true.
like an attachment.
Yeah, and remember, that's something that's always in the user's control to share that way, and it's also
in the admin's control.
And it's also in the admin's control, right? The admin can lock down their environment and disable the ability to do that completely, right? We have, for example, we have very large financial institutions who collaborate freely internally, but they're not allowed to share anything external.
Yeah,
right?
and you can there are safe ways to share externally. You can lock down invite preview and basically allow require sign-in to share, and then
Right.
you can also do the trusted domain sharing. So there's multiple ways to ensure security. That if you turn the invite preview on, then it is more like an attachment.
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. I think that's all the time that we have for questions right now. We do have another session starting in about 15 minutes, so I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to get ready for our next session. So I do want to say a big thank you to AJ and Nara from the Google Apps for Work team for their great presentation and sticking around for answering a bunch of questions that everyone had. So.
Our pleasure. Thanks to you for organizing this. This is really great. We're happy to be here. Also thanks to everyone out there who participated in the interactive session. It was a bit of an experiment for us, and seemed like we got some good interactions. So that was a lot of fun. We'll definitely do more. All right. Thanks, guys.
All right.
See you later.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. So that wraps up this presentation. For right now, we do have the next presentation starting in about 13 minutes now. So that's training your users to train themselves on Google Apps. So hopefully all of you can make it to the next presentation. And if you haven't already, please take a second to fill out the form that I provided in the Showcase app. And yeah, I think that's all. So thanks again for stopping by, and we'll see you for a few more sessions throughout the week. Thanks.